Greetings, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's operator meeting. My name is Hannah Hickam, and I will be your host. And I don't think there's any announcements, so we'll just jump straight in. Rebecca and Kate, you should be able to unmute yourselves, and then Kate, if you wanted to share, you should be able to do that as well.
Great, thank you very much, Hannah. So good morning, everybody. I'm Kate Fury. I'm the Air Quality Oil and Gas Liaison with the Air Pollution Control Division. And today I wanted to touch on just a few reminders about the Reg 7 pre-production air monitoring program. We have not had a problem with this program for the 18 months-ish that it's been in operations. And then in December, we had 3 separate plans come in that were a real challenge for us because they had various violations and compliance issues. So COGCC very graciously invited me here today so that I could just kind of do a quick reminder. So I am going to share my screen real quick. Oh, not that one.
Looks good.
Okay, good. Glad you can see it. So what I have pulled up is this particular section 6C1B from Reg 7 Part D, Section 6. Note that the title for Section 6 is Oil and Gas Pre-Production and Early Production Operations. So the whole purpose of this monitoring program is to collect background data prior to the start of operations, which only benefits the operator, right? Because if you're collecting data and you don't have that background, if you start once operations have started, you are going to be subject to accusations that all of the emissions that you're collecting are coming from your site. If you have background data to compare to, you can say, well, no, half of that is coming from vehicle emissions or some other operation that's happening that's not affected to our site. So really that's a benefit to you and not necessarily to us. But again, the whole purpose of this is pre-production. So if you're already in production and then you want to start monitoring, that does very little in terms of compliance with this Reg 7. So then we go into the actual section itself. So the air quality monitoring plans need to be submitted to the division as well as the local government and the proximate local government. So that's defined as within 2,000 feet of the proposed operation, that would be approximate local government. And they need to be submitted at least 60 days prior to the beginning of air quality monitoring, right? So you need 10 days of collecting background monitoring. So you're looking at least 70 days before you commence operations, right? So one of the things that I want you to notice is that there's no time frame for how early you can submit these plans, right? So we've had operators that submitted these plans to us at the same time that they submit the OGDP to COGCC, which is fine as long as, if COGCC or some other entity, local government changes the shape of your pad or changes the operations or request changes to your operations such that it would change the air monitoring plan, then you would have to submit an updated one to us. But one of the things that I just want to point out is you can submit these plans as early as what how the facility is going to look, where the access roads are going to be, and things of that nature. And that's fine as far as we're concerned. It's much better to submit early than it is to submit late. Let me just put it that way. At the same time that you furnish a copy to us, the local government gets a copy as well. And then if the local government wants to comment, they have their full 14 days, right? So we've had situations where operators submit a plan to us and they want to start drilling in 10 days. Well, if the local government, especially like one that's very active in these plans, like in Adams County or Broomfield or Boulder County or Larimer County, wants to comment on these plans, we have to give them the full 14 days. Right. So that's just not going to work. It's incumbent upon the operator to be aware of whatever the local government restrictions are in regards to these monitoring plans. So you have to be in compliance with what the local government wants. Now, if it's approximate local government, so let's say you're drilling in Weld and Adams County is your approximate local government, you're not subject to the same monitoring requirements that you would be if you were actually drilling in Adams County. However, we do we take their comments into consideration when we're doing approval for our plan. So it's possible that we might incorporate some of the proximate local governments into the comments that we put into our plan. And then finally, you've got to receive approval from the division for the air monitoring plan prior to the beginning of air quality monitoring. So again, you can't start monitoring then submit the plan to us, or submit the plan to us, and while you're waiting approval, start monitoring. That's a problem for us as well. So I just want to say that, we try to work with operators, and we understand that, drill rig availability is an issue. And then there's sometimes restrictions in terms of like wildlife habitat and things that can constrain when the drilling occurs, which is why it's incumbent upon operators to file these plans as early as possible. And if there's going to be a problem, right? Like maybe that you're not going to be able to meet that 60-day timeframe, please contact us as soon as possible so that we can work with you. Please don't start drilling without one of these plans in place. Like I want to help you all be in compliance, and I want to make sure that this program is successful. And the way that we do that is by working with you and you working with us. So that's pretty much what I have. Happy to turn it over to you, Rebecca.
Thanks, Kate. Hi, I'm Rebecca Treat, Senior OGLO with COGCC. And yes, kind of what Kate was saying. So COGCC is also a consulting agency on some of these air plans, especially if it's within 2,000 feet of residential building units. And so having time to be able to review the plans in a way to make sure for health, safety, welfare, and the environment for Colorado, and just being able to have enough time to coordinate with the air division and make sure everything's moving forward is our goal here. And like Kate said, we're trying to work with operators and make sure everything is in compliance, and having that background definitely does help the operators, and being able to make sure, especially if you're near a highway or anything that way, like Kate said, other operations in the area. So yeah, just wanted to bring that up. That was something that was becoming a problem. And yes, there's the air emissions, and this does help COGCC for that we're looking at it with cumulative impacts. There's a lot of different ways that these air monitoring plans, while it's a Reg 7 and goes through CDPHE and the air division, we have a good relationship between COGCC and CDPHE for these air monitoring plans, and trying to make sure everything's up to date and going forward. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Kate. Next up, we have the Form A3A plan, and either Scott Cuthbertson or Meredith are going to speak about that one.
Thanks, Hannah. Hi, this is Meredith Moon. I am the new COGCC Finance Manager. So we are currently working on processing all the Form 3s that have been submitted, or some of the Form 3s that have been submitted. And we're also currently developing the Form 3A, which is the form that will be used to submit your financial assurance payments, bonds. The Form 3A is also going to be used to request bond releases. Excuse me. So we'll have more guidance on this coming soon, but for the time being, since we need to shift our resources into approving Form 3s, we are going to hold off on processing bond release requests or bond replacement requests in the interim. If you all have any questions about this or have requested a release or a replacement, please feel free to reach out to me directly, and we can talk through that. But we will have more guidance on this coming soon for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith. And folks, I've dropped Meredith's email in the chat, so you can use that if you need to contact her. Next up, we've got some OGLA announcements, updates and reminders, and that's Sabrina Trask. I'm hoping I unmuted.
Can you hear me, Hannah?
Oh yes, great, I did.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to point out, actually, while we still have Kate, and I think Kate has another meeting she needs to jump to, there is a question in the chat that I might ask if Kate wants to answer now while she's available.
Yeah, sorry, I was rapidly typing, but not fast enough.
Okay.
So it's when it's a voluntary requirement for monitoring, or when it's an agreement that you've made with the local government, that's not a problem for us. We've had two specific scenarios where the operator wasn't going to have enough time to collect, to A, allow for local government review, and B, to collect the full 10 days of background because they submitted a plan to us after they started monitoring, but within 10 days of when they started to commence their operations, right? Because they had a drill rig become available. So in cases like that, that's going to be the problem, right? When you're already monitoring and you want to include that monitoring as part of your Reg 7 requirement, but you haven't gotten that plan approved by us. Now, if you've worked with local governments and this is a voluntary agreement that's outside of what Reg 7 is requiring, then that's a separate situation. Hopefully that makes sense.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kate.
And yeah, the person who asked the questions said they did, so I think that was good. All right, awesome. Sabrina, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Kate. Thanks, Hannah. Just a couple quick announcements. I want to give a short staffing announcement. Rebecca Treats, who is on this call today, has been hired as our newest senior OGLA specialist. We now have two, so Rebecca will be working along with our current senior OGLA, Doug Andrews. Rebecca's been in this group for over 8 years and is already transitioning into her new role. She's got over 14 years consulting experience, including work for the EPA. And we're super excited to have Rebecca in this role. So those of you that already know her, give her a shout out when you can. Another quick announcement, we have a new OGLA supervisor. John Noto is still here, don't panic. We have a second OGLA supervisor. His name is Ben Frizzell. He'll be coming on board with us next week. Ben is coming to us from Weld County's Department of Public Health and Environment, where he's been the environmental health manager for the last 8 years. Ben was also involved in standing up Weld County's Oil and Gas Energy Development Department, so OJED, with Jason Maxey in 2019. So he's got a wealth of information. He's going to be a fabulous addition. Please welcome Ben as he joins us next week. We'll also be recruiting to backfill 2 OGLA specialist positions that are currently vacant, as well as filling 4 additional new OGLA positions. So 6 new OGLA specialists in the next few weeks. Keep your eyes open for that job posting, and please share the announcement once it's out. Hannah, if you could drive for me, please, on our website, we have a new guidance document that's available. It is called CPW consultation process for operations in wildlife habitats at existing locations. That's a mouthful. If you go to regulation and then forms, this new guidance document is housed under the form 2, which is application for permit to drill. This looks like the second one down there, CPW consultation process for operations in wildlife habitats. This document is also housed under the form 4 and also under the form 6 instructions as well. This guidance is basically to inform operators who are seeking to conduct operations at existing locations that are within high priority habitats and other sensitive wildlife habitats, how they can and should consult with CPW in advance. I'm not going to go through the guidance. We've actually had, I think, a couple of operator meetings where we've talked about the content of this guidance, but that document is out now and is available to you. Thanks, Hannah. And then one last friendly reminder, OGLA staff cannot expedite OGDP applications through our system outside of the rule requirements and timelines. We've got, we've got a 30-day completeness timeline. We try to honor that. We're really close to honoring that, at least to respond, either pushing the application back or passing completeness on it. And then there is a 60-day hearing notice period, minimum of 60-day hearing notice period. So I understand that things come up and you really want your OGDPs to go to hearing and be approved, but we are bound by our rules to work within those timelines. We are, as you can imagine, still incredibly short-staffed. So we may not get to your application as quickly as you would like us to and as quickly as we'd like to. I just want to point out that although there are only 10 OGDPs that currently appear as pending on our website, 10 doesn't sound like a lot. There are actually 27 other OGDP applications currently undergoing completeness review. So we're actually a staff of what now, we're 6, 7 of us looking at 37 OGDPs right now. And that doesn't include cap that we're looking at and all the Form 2s for 6s, 15s, 45s, and everything else that we've got on our plate. So we're doing our best to meet everybody's needs. Please continue to be patient with us as we continue to evolve our staffing levels in the group. If you have an emergency, definitely reach out. We'll see what we can do to accommodate you. But in general, the process is going to continue to be a little bit slower than we'd like up until we get the rest of our team onboarded, trained up, and running. So again, please be patient. Reach out for something where we can help you within our rules. I think that's all I have. Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you, Sabrina, and congratulations, Rebecca. Next up, we have the surface owner protection bonds, and that will be Chris Eisinger. Chris, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Thanks, Hannah. Can I also share my screen?
You should also be able to share your screen.
Okay, thanks. Okay, let's see if I can. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see this. Good morning. I wanted to do a little overview on surface owner protection bonds. This issue has come up a number of times with operators with regards to Form 3's financial assurance plans and the upcoming Form 3A. And so what this involves is new rule 704, which describes when a surface owner protection bond is required. And simply, it is if these one of these three conditions is met: the surface owner is not party to a lease, the surface owner is not party to a surface use agreement or relevant agreement, other relevant agreement with the operator, or the operator is not the surface owner. And the information that we are using with the Form 3 is coming from our database. And that information in turn comes from Form 2s and Form 2As. This information is generally saved in the database or well file, especially with surface use agreements. It also may be provided through a Form 4 that was provided subsequent to a 2 or 2A. Again, all this information is coming from the 2A, and Form 4. And it, again, a surface owner is not party to a lease, it's not party to a surface use agreement, or the operator is not the surface owner. So in the Form 3, the financial assurance plan, there is a section for other financial assurance, and you'll see a portion that talks about surface owner protection bonds. And for many operators, this is automatically populated if there is an existing blanket surface owner protection bond for $100,000. And it likewise, if you have individual surface owner protection bonds that are recognized in the database, that will populate those numbers and values there. But there are quite a few cases where an operator may no longer need the surface owner protection bond. And in those cases, we ask that an operator on their Form 3 provide comment in the operator comment section on the last tab, signature and certification. And that know that the release or reallocation of these surface owner protection bonds will be done on the forthcoming Form 3A. So we will get to it here, but for the sake of the Form 3, you can just use what is auto-populated there and provide comment. So in order to help facilitate operators and staff to understand if a surface owner protection bond is required, we've created a tool that we hope will be helpful and useful. And we ask that operators use this tool prior to requesting release of their surface owner protection bond. And to find this tool, it is on our website under the data section in COGCC, and you go to the operator name, address, financial assurance inquiry section. And then when you get to a company, you're going to see a button there shown on the right that's in gray, that's for the surface owner bond and surface use agreement report. Once you click on that, you will see a table in your web browser that you can also export to Excel. And this is a comprehensive list of wells that the operator has. And it provides all of the fields from our database that are necessary to determine which wells an operator would need to provide additional information to financial assurance staff if it doesn't show that one of those conditions is met. And the next several slides are very wordy, and I'm not going to go through them in detail, but these will be provided, of course, as guidance. But on that report, you would be focusing on a few columns, and those would be if the surface owner is the mineral owner, if the operator or the applicant is the surface owner, and then finally, if there is an SUA in place. And by filtering on those, you will be able to see if there is outstanding need for additional information. And it will help to reduce greatly the review of all an operator's wells to determine if a surface owner protection bond is needed. So there are some caveats to using this new report. And I just wanted to say that it's for every well that has not passed final reclamation. And it does, like I said, provide the necessary information to see if Rule 704 requires the operator to have the surface owner protection bond. Some of the wells will have multiple reports, multiple rows of data in the report, and that has to do with if there was multiple approved Form 2 or 2As. Additionally, this report is potentially going to miss some data for wells, especially the older wells. And so if that's the case, we may have to do a manual search, and an operator will have to help provide us information for those older wells. If you do find issues with this report, there's a process here, and again, I won't go through all this in detail, that you can follow up with our staff to resolve any concerns that you have. And specifically, if the report is missing data in the well file, you can reach out to the permitting staff. Actually, in all these, you would generally reach out to permitting staff, but the operator has an SUA that's not on the well file. That would be a case of needing to provide us that information, or if the information was just wrong on your Form 2 or 2A. Finally, just with regards to release, this is going to happen for the forthcoming 3A. And this slide here just provides instructions as to how that process will happen. Additionally, for reallocating or replacing a blanket surface owner protection bond, you can follow these instructions here. So I will leave it at that. And if people have questions, they can ask in the chat, or in the future, here you can reach out to our financial assurance staff, Debbie, Deb, and Meredith. So that's all I've got for that, Hannah. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Chris. Next up is high priority habitat maps, Sabrina Trask and Chris Eisinger. And then do you guys need to share the screen for that, or am I sharing?
Yeah, I'll just share it right now. As Sabrina alluded to, we recently released proposed high priority habitat maps. And for those who are not aware, they are available on our interactive map, and you will find them under the Parks and Wildlife section group, and you will see them listed as proposed 2023 high priority habitat maps. They are, there's a combined layer for everything, and then they are also divided by rule and habitat, so you can look at selectively different habitats. This information is also going to soon be provided as a download on our website for those people who want to bring them into their own GIS projects to look at. And that will be on the data section under GIS data.
Great, thank you, Chris. And with that, I believe it's time for the Q&A. Let me just split off the chat from my participants box, and we'll get right to that. Okay. All right, we did the first question. That was for Kate, so we're going to skip that one. The next question is kind of long, so just bear with me. Good morning. Could you please clarify an apparent contradiction within the CPW consultation guidance document number 2? On page 2 states that if the oil and gas location is within wildlife habitat that requires consultation, the operator will contact CPW prior to submitting the form. Then number 7 on page 3 states that if the operator didn't consult with CPW, then COGCC will initiate the process. Additionally, during the 9/13/22 operator meeting, Greg Durallo presented that it is a best practice for operators to initiate the consultation. Would it be possible to update the guidance document to clarify which party is responsible for initiating consultation, as it currently suggests that it is the operators, even though it is not required by rule? Thank you.
Hannah, I'm happy to take that question. And thank you for that question. That's a good clarification. Greg was correct. I support what he said. Ideally, the operator that wants to conduct the operations will do their due diligence, do their research, determine whether or not they're in a high priority habitat or other type of wildlife habitat, and will reach out to CPW in advance. That's not a rule requirement for ongoing or existing operations or new operations on an existing pad. But part of Rule 309 is to ensure that wildlife habitat and wildlife resources are protected. And so you can do that. The best way you can do that is by reaching out to CPW proactively, have that consultation, provide an attachment onto either your Form 2, your Form 4, or your Form 6 that describes your consultation with CPW and provides any, if there were any additional BMPs that were agreed to, if you need to update your BMPs, or if there were any new timing steps or other results of that consultation. Document that information in an attachment on your form. We've had cases where operators didn't realize they were in a high priority habitat. Maybe the location is an old location. It has been there since before the Form 2A even existed. We've had cases where there was, say, a new bald eagle's nest, an active nest that moved in, that encroached upon that location. So it's not in our high priority habitat map. There's just a lot of variation that can happen in the field regarding wildlife. So the best practice truly is for the operator to proactively seek consultation with CPW, document it, and provide it to staff in the form that you're submitting. As staff is reviewing the form, if there's no indication that any consultation occurred and staff during our review determines that there should have been a consultation, we will work out setting up that consultation with the operator and with CPW. That could have an unintended consequences of slowing down our review, slowing down your the approval of your form. So the earlier you can be proactive and work with CPW, I think that just benefits the operator a lot more. We can, if it's really necessary, we can update that in the guidance. That's not a problem. If it's unclear, we'll certainly make that correction in the guidance document.
Great, thank you, Sabrina. And if there's any further clarification needed, just drop that in the chat. And the next question is, regarding the guidance documents, have you considered updating the forms guidance by moving the guidance that is within the rulemaking pages? It seems consolidation is appropriate.
Chris, do you want to take that? If not, I'm happy to. Or Scott.
We recognize that there's some website maintenance that we could probably benefit from, and we certainly have that on our to-do list.
Yes.
Great.
I might just add that we do have, we are right now in the middle of figuring out all of the guidance documents that are outdated. We recognize we have a lot of old guidance documents that don't apply anymore. We're currently working to remove those guidance documents, continue to update. I will speak for the OGLA group, continue to update guidance documents that we would have liked to have had out already for the new rules. We're still working on those. But we do appreciate that our guidance documents on our website are a little haphazard at the moment. So again, I would ask that you continue to be patient with us as we fix this. If there is something that is in a guidance document that's unclear, please reach out directly to the owner, the unit owner of that guidance document for clarification. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Sabrina, Chris, Scott. The next question was, could I add the guidance that Sabrina went over earlier to the chat, which I did, so folks can download it directly from that link if you want to. The next question is, when will the proposed wildlife areas be finalized? Which layers should we be using until then?
I will take a stab at that, and Chris, jump in if I misspeak. I don't know when the CPW HPH layer, GIS layer rulemaking is scheduled. I think there is a stakeholder meeting scheduled for later this month to discuss those new proposed HPH layers. The layers are on our website right now for your review. We're hoping to get a lot of stakeholder involvement and feedback on those proposed new layers. So for now, please continue to use the current approved layers, the layers that you've already been using for the last year or two. In the event that that rulemaking does, I guess, approve those new layers, then we'll remove the old layers off the map. So for now, continue using the current layers. Those new layers are really just there for your review and feedback for rulemaking. Do not use them in your applications and your forms right now.
Great, thank you.
And I'll add, Sabrina, the stakeholder meeting is on January 23rd at 3 p.m. So.
Great, thank you, Chris. The next question is, which quadrant of the state is having the majority of its HPH layers updated? Are there some habitats being updated statewide?
I wish I had Brandon Moret or one of the other CPW folks on the line. I don't actually know the answer to that question. I apologize. I should know that. I'm sorry, I can't answer that. I can find out though from CPW, and we can include that information in the Q&A sheet for the Q&A for this meeting that we will post on our website.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sabrina. And I'll make sure to also add the Q&A to the email for the next. Oh no, that won't be in time. I'll drop the link in here. Or this will be a great time to show everybody again, just in case anybody has forgotten, or maybe we have some new folks, how to get to the Q&As. You go to regulation, and then operator guidance, and then down here, past meeting agendas, etc.
Hannah, you're not sharing your screen.
I'm so sorry, you guys. Okay, here's it. Let's go back. So start off here, go to regulation, and then operator guidance, and then down here to past meeting agendas, and then they'll be here. And we didn't have one from last week, but this is the one from December. So that's where they'll be. And I think that's the end of the questions. We'll give folks just a few more minutes to take questions in.
Thanks for that, Hannah.
You're welcome. And here's the next meeting. Apparently we planned one for Valentine's Day. And these are the rest of them for the rest of the, I'll keep adding them as we get closer to the dates. And then if you'd like to be added to the operator email list, you can email me at hannah.hegum@state.ca.us. And then if you have questions about most of the things we talked about, you can probably reach out to Chris, but reach out to Sabrina. It was one of the things she talked about.
Hannah, I'm going to jump back in. I got a hold of Brandon Moret from CPW, and he informed that it's big game in the northeast quadrant, and raptors and grouse statewide.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sabrina. It'll also still be in the Q&A though, if anyone forgets. All right, and with that, I think that the meeting is concluded. Thank you everybody so much for being here, and we'll see you next month. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.